Hello, I'm Eric Snodgrass, Science Fellow and Principal Atmospheric Scientist with Nutrient Ag Solutions. I want to thank you for giving me an opportunity here to talk to you about this upcoming fall and winter forecast brought to you by Farm Credit Illinois. We're going to look back at summer first. There's a lot to be learned here. We're going to start with a couple of maps that show you the ranks. We have 129 years worth of data on these maps. And if you look at the time period of June, July, and August, that's what's shown here. Much of the state of Illinois saw above normal precipitation. You can even see some locations here, especially just south of I-72. These two climate reporting districts having a top 10 wettest summer on record. Where was it dry? In parts of the western Corn Belt and Central Plains and in the Pacific Northwest. See that? On the temperature side of things, that's where all the heat was too. We did not go through a summer with measured heat stress. There just wasn't a lot of it in the state of Illinois. And that was because throughout much of summer, a big ridge parked over the west. From the beginning of June all the way through mid-August, that ridge forced the jet stream up and over. And we got storms that kind of came out of the northwest just like this. But where we saw drought develop was in the western Corn Belt, the northern plains. The Canadian prairie hit very hard, and of course across the west. Now, since mid-August, this pattern has changed, and this is what it looks like now. The jet stream has come much faster around a deeper trough in the Gulf of Alaska that stretches all the way back to the Arctic. We've had this formidable ridge that's just sat here over the eastern side of Canada that's been a very difficult feature to break down. Now, therefore, since mid-August up until now, this is what our precipitation stats have looked like. That shift has made it drier from parts of Missouri and Iowa into southern Wisconsin, clipping western and northern Illinois. We've had better rainfall farther to the south, but the state's really been split north-south on precip since mid-August, and that's what you're seeing here. On the temperature side of things, we've been quite warm. In fact, our warmest time this summer has really come here at the very end of it in the beginning of fall, where since that time period, again, mid-August up until the 4th of October, much of the state of Illinois has favored many days with well above normal temperatures. But we got those above normal temperatures late in the season. And I want to show you something kind of interesting about this. When you look back over this growing season, I want to show you first the last 180 days of accumulated precip. We're currently sitting at 106% of normal. And after the very wet weather at the end of June, we've just been getting these very well-timed rains that have come through. We've had a couple of harvest windows that have opened up, but recently we've had our most recent harvest window shut down at the first week of October. But back to those temperatures, take a look at this graph. It's 180 days of highs and lows. The temperatures really cranked up in June, but during pollination in July, we rarely saw temperatures getting much above average. It's only really been here in the last 40 days or so that the temperatures have come up much above average. And take a look at what that did to our accumulation of GDUs. We stayed right smack dab in the middle. And therefore, because of this, we really avoided a lot of major heat stress in the middle of the season and packed on some heat late. Now, when you look at these bars up here, and again, this is data for Champaign, Illinois, they tell us over the last 40 years on each date how often we've had a frost event. And for Champaign, that average first frost event is right about here on the 16th or 17th of the month. For the rest of the state, it looks something like this. So this is the median date of the first freeze, 32 degrees Fahrenheit or colder, based on the 1981 to 2010 average. So what you notice here, Champaign, where I'm from, that area, 10/17, October 17th would be the first. Now, in a few minutes, I'm going to answer the question as to whether or not we're going to get a first frost in or around that date, or will it be earlier or later? So hang on. But first, let's talk about the rains that came through over our first weekend in October that chased a lot of us out of the fields. We've got this pesky cutoff low right here that we're going to be watching all week, and it's what came and brought the rain in over the weekend. And the flow around it is just feeding more moisture. So this low is going to try to move to the north to get absorbed back into the jet stream here. But there is more coming from the Pacific, which I'll have to show you there in the week 2 forecast in just a few moments. But first, this is what you're dealing with. Going through, let's get out here to the 5th. There you go. Through the day on the 5th, this is Tuesday, through mid-morning, mid-afternoon, and evening. And then getting out there into the overnight hours, including now Wednesday morning, Wednesday afternoon, and evening. Do you notice it? The showers just keep coming out of the southeast. They're coming around this low. So the flow is just like this, bringing in a lot of scattered showers through the middle of this week. But let's see when we get that trough out of here. And to do that, I'm going to take you right to the high-res European model. There's that cutoff low. Ready? We go through Monday into Tuesday, and Wednesday and Thursday. It's still sitting there. But you can see what's changing. Big ridge to the north, deep trough to the west. And those troughs keep getting deeper and deeper to the west. And they keep kicking out systems into the central plains of the United States. And they're going to have another one early next week. And by the time we get out to the 13th or the 14th, our pattern is very highly amplified. Deep trough in the west, big ridge over the east. And we're going to see what that does to our precipitation and temperature pattern. How about going looking at the high resolution European? Watch this. Through Tuesday, now into Wednesday and Thursday, and even into early Friday. It's going to take that much time this week to get that trough, that low, to get all the way here into Wisconsin. So you're going to see daily chances for rain across the state of Illinois through this week. But after that, all the action returns to the plains. This weekend, deep cyclone develops here. We'll be in the warm sector, so we're going to get some warmer conditions coming there. That goes through Sunday. That first low takes off here toward Ontario. It's going to leave a front right there. So watch out Sunday night. We're going to keep an eye on Sunday night, the 10th. Now going beyond that, into early next week, another low comes out in the southern plains. Here it is on Monday. This is the 11th. And it pulls straight toward Minnesota and Wisconsin. Again, the front to the south, we're going to watch it on Monday night into Tuesday to get close to Illinois, maybe bring us some storms. But look how deep the low is that comes in midweek next week on the 13th and 14th. That sucker comes in like this and heads up towards central Canada. And you see all the blues there? That's all snow. This is a deep trough coming through there. So we add up all that rainfall, and this is what you get. Ready? This is all from the cutoff through the end of this week. So we're generally looking here at about a ½ inch to maybe an inch of rainfall through the end of the week. After that, we don't add much more. It's all over here in the plains. The first system there over the weekend, the second system here on Monday. And we're going to wait to see if that blows through us by the time we get into maybe the 13th, 14th, 15th. But overall, we get the first system, and then all the next couple of rounds stay in the plains. When does it get to us? Well, maybe by week 2. Look at this trough digging in here and then curling hard to the north. That could initiate systems by the 14th, 15th that bring fronts through Illinois. But you see the big ridge still protecting us. Does it break down? Well, as we get up there to the 16th, 17th, and 18th of the month, it does. The deeper trough is there, but the flow is doing that. And that is a bit of a pattern change. So what do we end up getting? Well, much of this precip that you see here is coming at the beginning of week 2. It's all curling around those lows. There's one to the south and one to the north. Therefore, we do see in week 2, which gets us out to the 18th, better chances of having near normal to above normal precipitation. But there will be some harvest windows that open up between now and then, but just not until the end of this week, okay? From there, look at this. Let's look at the time period of the 16th of October through the 15th of November. Still a trough here, but this pattern is starting to show some hints of a change. Breaking down that big ridge here, do you see how the height lines dip? That would indicate a trough, split flow in the west. Now, if we do that, it's not necessarily a signal for really cold weather, but looking out there into that 30-day time period, mid-October to mid-November, we could be seeing some, warmer than normal temperatures. Now, what's interesting about that is if I just rewind the clock a little bit, this is kind of what we're seeing over the next 10 days. Do you notice it here? We're getting that big ridge that's in place, making it really, really hot with the troughs that are in the west. What I think is going to happen is, like we see day 10 through 15, this pattern moderates a bit. And even though you still see warmer conditions here, this is not as warm as it was. And more cooler air will be allowed to come through behind those fronts. So now coming back to that long-range forecast, here it is. I do want you to understand that this just means that we may have more days, maybe 1 or 2 more days, that favor above normal temperatures than below. But don't expect the entirety of mid-October to mid-November to be warm. Just don't expect it to be that way. It's not the time of year for that. And also, I'll tell you, coming back here to that mid-month forecast, I do see better chances of getting that cold weather in. No signs of an early frost yet, but I do think we need to watch the end of October for some change. Now, what about precipitation? Same time period, the 30 days between October 15th and November 15th. The models want to give us a slight wet bias, but I'm going to call that into question. And the reason is the jet stream was doing something like that. Now, when it comes out of the northwest, in fall, there's a lot of upper level convergence in the flow. And that is not a flow pattern that gives us way above average precipitation. Long story short, we're going to have tighter harvest windows, but there's still going to be harvest windows to get the work done. They're just going to have to force us to move fast and watch the forecast very, very carefully. That's what I'd like to say about it. All right, bigger picture, longer term, and I tell you what, I'll throw in a little bit at South America at the end of this. Here's one of the things we're going to watch through fall. We have a developing La Niña. The Southern Oscillation Index is positive. The trade winds have been strong. There's plenty of cool water that's going to upwell in this area. This La Niña looks to be about half to maybe 3/4 of the strength of last year's La Niña. And as it develops, we know a few things about what it's going to do. So I want to look over the time period of November through March and look at those ocean temperatures in what we call Niña region 3.4. That's right there, the middle of our La Niña region. When we create a plot that shows us the correlation with the precipitation pattern, this is what you end up getting. Now, where there are warmer colors, that would indicate where during a La Niña it's drier. And we see drier is favored in the plains. But this also means we tend to get an active Ohio River Valley storm track and more storm systems coming out of the northwest. So if we use La Niña as our primary guide, we tend to have near normal, possibly snowier conditions throughout winter. Why do I say snowier? Because if I flip this over to temperature, now look at it. Now I know you're going to see warmer colors, but remember, this is the correlation with those ocean temperatures, and they're cool right now. So we tend to be cooler north and warmer south. You're going, wait, the colors are different. I know, it's a negative correlation. Now let's add to this, okay? This is, let's go here. There we go. This is the latest long-range update for December, January, February from the Climate Prediction Center. You can see they got a pretty hard boundary in through here. We're north of it, near normal, even cooler than normal in the northwest, but warmer to the south and southeast. Where are we? We're tucked into that place where we always are. Active freeze-thaw cycle. And when you look at the precipitation side of this, this is what you get. Active Ohio River Valley storm track, therefore wetter than normal. Now I'm going to tell you this. This winter is going to be a winter of transition. It will not get stuck in one configuration. We're going to have to watch the polar vortex. We're going to have to watch the MJO. We're going to have to watch all of these transient features move through. But using La Niña as a primary guide, there you go. Active Ohio River Valley storm track, and the warmest weather will be to our south. Okay? Now, one last thing to cover here, South America. There's been a problem as of late in South America, and that is, let's get that zoomed in right, there we go. This has been the region. It's a big area. You can fit 2 Texases in there, okay? In central Brazil, that's been dry. It's been very wet south of there and very wet north of there. But over the next 10 days, all of this fills in. And between now and mid-November, 80% of the Brazilian crop is planted, and they need the rainfall. So what do we end up seeing from mid-October to mid-November? Near normal rainfall throughout much of Brazil's growing area. In fact, wetter over in the east. So this means that we expect them to have on-time planting this year, unlike a year ago. Now, my concern is with the developing La Niña, that southern Brazil and Argentina could be dealing with drought situation later on this season. And I'll keep you up to date on all of that. My partnership through Farm Credit Illinois allows me to give you a link to this, which is my free daily update. Check it out. I'll keep you ahead of all of the weather as it pertains to Illinois and the rest of the globe right here with this link. Thanks so much.